Mr. Harold Grumbly, a man who took pride in his possessions, resided in the grandest house on Elm Street. His manicured lawn and gleaming car were testaments to his wealth. Right next door, in a modest, weathered cottage, lived Mr. Samuel Kindly, a man of humble means, but a heart overflowing with generosity. Samuel found joy in the simplest things: the laughter of children, the chirping of birds, and the warmth of the sun on his face. Their contrasting lifestyles were as different as night and day, setting the stage for a clash of personalities. Harold often looked down upon Samuel, seeing him as beneath him. Samuel, on the other hand, always greeted Harold with a friendly wave and a warm smile. Despite their differences, they coexisted in an uneasy peace, their lives running parallel but never intersecting. Little did they know, a storm was brewing, one that would test their values and redefine their relationship. It would take a crisis, a moment of shared vulnerability, to bridge the chasm between their worlds. The catalyst for their first major disagreement was a matter as trivial as a fence. Harold, in his infinite wisdom, decided he needed a new, taller fence to protect his prized roses from the neighborhood squirrels. Naturally, he didn't consider consulting Samuel, whose property bordered his. The new fence, Harold declared, would be built right on the property line. Samuel, ever the peacemaker, tried to reason with Harold, pointing out that the new fence would cast a shadow over his beloved vegetable garden. But Harold, blinded by his own self-importance, dismissed Samuel's concerns. "My dear Samuel," Harold scoffed, "surely a few vegetables are a small price to pay for the preservation of beauty." Samuel, though hurt by Harold's dismissive tone, simply sighed and retreated to his cottage. He couldn't comprehend Harold's obsession with material possessions, especially when it came at the expense of their neighborly harmony. The fence stood as a stark symbol of their differences, a physical manifestation of the chasm that separated their worlds. Little did they know, a much larger force was about to put their petty differences into perspective. One evening, the sky turned a menacing shade of gray as a ferocious storm rolled into town. The wind howled like a banshee, tearing through the trees and sending leaves swirling through the air. Rain lashed down in torrents, flooding the streets and rattling windows. The once peaceful neighborhood was now at the mercy of nature's fury. Harold, comfortably ensconced in his grand living room, barely spared a thought for his less fortunate neighbor. He was too busy fretting over the possibility of his precious roses being damaged. Samuel, on the other hand, was battling the storm's wrath head-on. The wind ripped through his small garden, uprooting his precious vegetables and tossing them about like toys. Suddenly there was a deafening crack as a large tree branch, weakened by the relentless wind and rain, snapped and crashed onto Samuel's roof, tearing a gaping hole in the structure. Drenched and shivering, Samuel surveyed the damage, his heart sinking at the sight. As the storm raged on, Harold ventured out onto his porch, more concerned about the rising floodwaters threatening his lawn than the well-being of his neighbor. It was then that he noticed the gaping hole in Samuel's roof and the sight of Samuel, drenched and struggling to salvage what he could. A flicker of something akin to concern stirred within Harold. He had never seen Samuel so distraught. Without another thought, Harold grabbed a heavy-duty tarpaulin and rushed next door. He found Samuel shivering uncontrollably, desperately trying to cover the hole with a flimsy piece of plastic sheeting. "Here, let me help you with that," Harold said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Samuel looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. Never in a million years did he expect Harold to come to his aid, especially after their recent disagreement. Together, battling against the wind and rain, they secured the tarpaulin over the damaged roof, preventing further damage to Samuel's humble abode. As they worked, Harold noticed the state of Samuel's garden, his precious vegetables scattered and ruined. He also saw the fear and worry etched on Samuel's face, not for himself, but for the storm's aftermath. "Don't you worry about a thing, Samuel," Harold said, his voice firm. "We'll take care of all this once the storm passes." Samuel could only stare at Harold, his heart filled with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. This act of kindness, so unexpected, so genuine, chipped away at the wall of prejudice Harold had built around himself. As the storm subsided and the sun peeked through the retreating clouds, Harold found himself drawn to Samuel's warmth and resilience. He watched as Samuel, instead of lamenting his losses, offered words of comfort and reassurance to other neighbors whose homes had also been affected. Harold saw Samuel share his meager food supplies, a stark contrast to his own initial reaction of hoarding. A profound sense of shame washed over Harold. He realized the shallowness of his own existence, the emptiness of his materialistic pursuits. He saw the world through Samuel's eyes, a world where kindness and compassion reigned supreme, where material possessions paled in comparison to the richness of human connection. The storm, a destructive force of nature, had inadvertently become the catalyst for a transformation within him. In the aftermath of the storm, a remarkable change came over Harold. He, who had always kept to himself, now found himself joining the other neighbors in helping Samuel repair his damaged roof. He worked tirelessly alongside them, his expensive clothes splattered with mud and sweat, a testament to his newfound humility. The once imposing fence, a symbol of their discord, was rebuilt with Harold's own hands. This time, however, it was not a barrier, but a bridge connecting their properties and their lives. The new fence, shorter and less imposing, allowed the sunlight to filter through, nourishing Samuel's vegetable garden. The storm had passed, leaving behind a trail of destruction, but it had also sown the seeds of an unlikely friendship. Harold, stripped of his arrogance and pretense, discovered the true meaning of community and compassion. He learned that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in the richness of human connection. He found himself spending more and more time in Samuel's company, listening to his stories, sharing meals, and discovering the simple joys of life he had long overlooked. The once grumpy and aloof Harold was now a regular fixture in Samuel's garden, helping tend to the vegetables, his laughter mingling with the chirping of birds. The tale of Harold and Samuel serves as a heartwarming reminder that even in the face of adversity, even in the unlikeliest of circumstances, the transformative power of kindness can heal old wounds and forge new bonds. It teaches us that true wealth lies not in what we possess, but in the generosity of our hearts and the depth of our compassion. And so, the storm, a symbol of chaos and destruction, became an unexpected catalyst for change, reminding everyone on Elm Street that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit, fueled by kindness and compassion, has the power to rebuild and emerge stronger than ever before.